Hey, I'm Randy and I'm the Cheap Audio Man, and today we're talking about the Micca MB42X. So grab a cup of coffee, sit down, and let's talk about these little Micca speakers. Alright, so these little guys. What do I have them? Well, they have 4,000 plus ratings on Amazon. Over 4,000 ratings, and it 4.5 stars. It's a lot, right? So if you're new here, please subscribe. It helps us out. We're giving away some Klipsch R51M speakers. I will link that video in the description below. If you watch that video, I'll give you all the details about how to sign up for the giveaway. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe, please subscribe. And I've gotten some questions about how people can support the channel, and there's a couple of different ways. One is to use the links in the description. If you purchase through those links, I'll get a little bit of a commission back. It doesn't cost you anything else, but it's a way that the channel can keep going. I can continue to find things to review, and it's just a good thing to do. Also, I have a Patreon link. I don't know how I feel about the Patreon link. If you want to give to the Patreon, you can give to the Patreon. But I don't know. I feel kind of awkward doing the Patreon, but it is what it is. All right, so why are these special? So there's a version of this that doesn't have any crossover, and the X at the end stands for crossover. So basically the previous version of this was just 2 drivers, and I think it maybe had a capacitor for the high-pass crossover. So this, and even in their description, they talk about having an 18 dB crossover, and 18 dB means how steep the crossover slope is. So the higher the dB, the steeper the crossover. So a normal crossover is like 6 dB. 18 dB goes like that. So what it does is it gets rid of the frequencies that you don't want going to the tweeter, or the frequencies you don't want going to the woofer. And it talks about having a Zobel and a baffle step compensation. So what is that? Well, this is a crossover. It's a very ugly crossover. I built it myself. And crossovers are a collection of capacitors, inductors, and resistors. And basically, if you put enough of those together, you can get the high frequencies going to the tweeter and the low frequencies going to the woofer. The thing about crossovers is that the better that it is, the better you can make low-cost drivers sound. Really, the better you can make any driver sound. So it's really refreshing to see how much thought was put into the crossover on these little guys. Baffle step compensation has to do with the size of the front, which is the baffle, and how much bass it's losing. So you compensate for how much bass you're losing with a baffle step compensation circuit. A Zobel, which is in their crossover, is used to compensate generally for, it's for resistance in the drivers, but it also, it flattens out bumps and curves. Anyway, the bottom line is having a Zobel and baffle step is a good thing for the consumer, because the music sounds better. So what are these guys? It is a 3/4 inch, 0.75 inch silk soft dome tweeter, and a 4-inch, not Kevlar, what do they call it? Carbon fiber. It's carbon fiber. Carbon fiber woofer. Yeah, it's pretty stiff. They're rated at 85 dB. They're a little bit harder to drive than a lot of other speakers, but I had no problem driving them, really with anything. I mostly used my little Fozzy Audio Class D amp to drive these, because I mean, the likelihood of somebody using these with like a big, huge integrated amp is probably not that great. Although I did drive them from an Emotiva TA100. They sounded great. They also sounded very good on the Class D. They're rated at 60 hertz up to 20,000 hertz. Is that accurate? I can see it. All right, let's talk about bass. Okay, so I don't think anybody's gonna think that this little thing, smaller than a shoebox, is going to crank out room shaking bass. It's not gonna punch you in the gut, but it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine for what it is. You can't expect something this size to punch you in the gut from a bass standpoint. They're reported. So, you want more bass? Push them up against the wall. Is it going to be the cleanest bass? No, but it's going to be bassier. Bass is okay. It's getting really windy back here. Hopefully, I'm going to be all right. So the bass, it's fine. It's a 4-inch woofer. It's fine. It's fine. I'm going to know more about. I've got another 2 more speakers coming in that I'm going to compare all of these to. But we'll know more then. Right now, it's fine. It's fine. The bass is fine. Let's talk about mid-range. If the bass is fine, then the mid-range is good. I tested it with, I have a new playlist. It's called Test Tracks. It has So What off the Kind of Blue Miles Davis record. It has some Dave Matthews, Alanis Morissette, Uninvited, AC/DC, Highway to Hell, AC/DC, Shoot to Thrill. It did fine on all of them. It did fine. It sounded good. There's no veiling, or the mid-range didn't seem covered up. Acoustic guitars sounded good. They sounded like acoustic guitars. The tonality of the speaker is good. You know, it's fine. I had them sat up in the kitchen today, and I was listening to it, and last night I had them in the office, and they got me to shaking my head a little bit. So it's fine. Is it earth-shatteringly awesome? No, but they're $90, $89.99. It's good. It's clear. It's not like those Polks that I reviewed that's all gross and veiled and covered up and sounds like you're singing through a muddy sheet. It's much better than that. Let's talk about treble. So treble is probably where this speaker actually kind of shines, no pun intended. With the silk dome of that size, and it's got a bit of a wave guide, and so wave guides like that, so you're directing the sound, and high frequencies are very directional, so we can kind of control them. For me personally, I would say these speakers are a little bit on the bright side. The good news is they're about tiny, so you can just kind of change them where you want them to be, depending upon how bright you want them. With the wave guide, you're going to have better dispersion, so you're going to have better off-axis performance. Although I will say, when I stood up, I couldn't really hear the highs very well, but it also makes sense considering it's a tiny little speaker. So the best sound is when you're directly in front of them and they're towed in, but not towed in too much, because then to me that sounds a little bit bright. But again, the cool thing about these is if it's too bright, go like that. Not bright enough, go like that. And I would recommend, I'd recommend whatever amp you're putting on this thing to have tone controls, because with the size of these speakers, with the way it's rear ported, with the size of the drivers and the limitations you're going to have, you're going to want tone controls, because it's not going to be perfect, and these speakers aren't really meant to be perfect. So, what are my final thoughts? All right. They have a cool little grill too. Little magnetic grill. Very nice little touch. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out these probably go on a desk. And for that application, they're pretty good. For me, I'd like to have a subwoofer, but you can get by without a subwoofer. They're built really well. they've got a really good port. Like, it's plastic, and it's almost like, well, it's not quite. It's set in really well, and then the covering kind of goes around it. It's recessed a bit. But the Klipsch R51M has a cardboard port. So, plastic port. That's better. It's got decent little binding posts for the price. It's got good drivers. I like soft domes. I like how it's mounted in here, and it's pretty decent dispersion. Got a great crossover. So what that tells you is you're really maximizing what you can get out of this enclosure size and the driver sizes and the driver responses. So what else is it good for besides desktop use? This is when I really started thinking about it. And I came up with this. This is a backpack. These speakers can fit into the backpack. Also in the backpack, you can put an amp. You can put all your associated cabling, and you can put one of my favorite things in the whole world, the Topping BC3 Bluetooth receiver. It's an LDAC Bluetooth receiver, which means you can get high-res streaming through Bluetooth if you have the right kind of transmitter device. So, take these speakers, and they fit in the backpack, already checked. Put all your stuff, and you can take it with you. Where, you might ask? I don't know. Let's go on a journey. You can use them in the kitchen. You can use them on the back porch. You can even use them in the bathroom.